welcome back. You are watching PSM News in English, and now I'll continue the news with the latest business news updates from international arena. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi says China will import goods of $8 trillion in the next 5 years and significantly ease its market access. Wang Yi, also a newly endorsed state councillor, made the remarks when addressing the first business summit of the Greater Mekong Sub-Region GMS Economic Cooperation opened in the Vietnamese capital of Hanoi.
In addition to the planned imports, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang also promised to attract $600 billion of foreign investment in the same time period. The Foreign Minister reiterated China's commitment to market opening up in his address to the heads of states and business representatives from the region. He said China will implement the policies liberalizing trade and investment at the high level, ease market access significantly, further open up the service and financial sectors in particular, protect the legitimate rights and interests of overseas investors, protect intellectual property rights, and create a world-class business environment. Wang Yi added that China hopes other countries can remain open too, as the process should be mutual. Wang's remarks follow recent U.S. proposals of tariffs on Chinese imports for alleged trade violations. Wang said trade frictions are inevitable but should be resolved through fair consultation based on trade rules. The Chinese Foreign Minister also warned that protectionists would only close their own door to China's market and hurt themselves in the end. Wang is in Vietnam to attend the 6th summit of the GMS Economic Cooperation and to pay an official visit to the country from Friday to Monday.
Dozens of Palestinian youth gathered by the Gaza-Israel border a day after deadly violence broke out in one of the biggest Palestinian demonstrations there in years.
In the southern Gaza Strip, residents said Israeli troops fired warning shots towards a crowd of youths, some of whom burnt tires. Health officials said 2 people were wounded, and an Israeli military spokesman said he was checking the details. Tens of thousands of Palestinians had gathered on Friday along the fenced 65-kilometer frontier, where tents were erected for a planned 6-week protest, pressing for a right of return for refugees and their descendants to what is now Israel. At least 15 Palestinians were killed by Israeli security forces confronting protesters. The Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas declared Saturday a national day of mourning, and a general strike was called across the occupied West Bank. Thousands in Gaza marched through the streets at funerals for those who were killed.
Vote counting following Egypt's presidential elections has continued since Wednesday night, with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi chalking up a large share of the vote as expected.
Ballots have been sent from 13,000 polling stations to general vote counting centers, and preliminary results have been slowly emerging. As many predicted, the incumbent president is comfortably in the lead in all cities and has collected a 90% share of votes so far. The average turnout by Friday's counts is in the range of 36% of the total electoral college. To ensure the highest possible turnout, the government applied a $30 fine on those who did not vote. An estimated 30 million people have not voted, with the government expected to collect $900 million. After polling stations were closed, several monitoring agencies announced their reports. The Common Market of Eastern and Southern African State, COMESA, and the Community of Saharan States, CANSAD, sent a joint monitoring team to Egypt, and they roundly praised the voting process.
The group of observers of CANSAD and COMESA notes to date that the presidential elections held in the Arab Republic of Egypt from the 26th to the 28th of March 2018 was conducted under conditions of transparency, inclusiveness, credibility and regularity.
The 3 days of the vote passed without incident in spite of threats by militant groups to damage the elections. Meanwhile, Mustafa Musa, who ran against Sisi for the top post, said he is satisfied with the process and will accept the outcome. The results will be officially announced on April 2nd, and the winner will be formally sworn in as president in June.
A fire broke out at a Houthi-controlled Yemeni port of Hodeidah, destroying warehouses filled with cooking fuel and foodstuffs.
Fire trucks had not been able to put out the blaze in the warehousing area, which they said appeared to have been caused by an electrical short circuit. Reuters television footage showed thick plumes of smoke rising into the air and firefighters dousing the flames. Hodeidah port on the Red Sea handles the bulk of Yemen's imports, including critically needed food and aid supplies. The 3-year war in the country, which was already the Arab world's poorest, has pushed it to the verge of famine. A United Nations World Food Programme WFP employee told Reuters by telephone that there would be an investigation to determine the cause. Workers said the warehouses also contained hundreds of thousands of mattresses meant for those displaced by the war, which has killed more than 10,000 people and crippled the economy. The United Nations says that 3 out of the 4 Yemenis, which amounts to 22 million civilians, need relief aid. The Saudi-led coalition intervened in Yemen's civil war in 2015 to restore the internationally recognized Yemeni government that was forced into exile by the Iran-allied Houthis.
In sports, Zlatan Ibrahimovic scores twice on his LA Galaxy debut, including a winner in the stoppage time as his new team battled back from 3 goals down to defeat the upstart LAFC 4-3 in the thrilling match.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who came on as a substitute in the 71st minute, scored 6 minutes into his first MLS game with a dipping 35-meter shot that soared over the outstretched arms of LAFC goalie Tyler Miller. The Swedish striker followed up with a gutsy header in the 91st minute from a pass by Ashley Cole that proved to be Galaxy's winner, sending the sell-out crowd of over 27,000 into a frenzy on a sun-soaked day in Southern California. The inaugural El Tráfico Derby was all one-way traffic at the start as expansion team LAFC immediately put pressure on a short-handed Galaxy squad who were playing without Romain Alessandrini, Jonathan Dos Santos and Giovanni Dos Santos. Trailing 3-1, Galaxy fans began chanting for Ibrahimovic and coach C.G. Schmidt obliged, bringing the towering forward into his first match since December as he recovers from a knee injury suffered playing for England's Manchester United. Ibrahimovic exceeded the sky-high expectations placed on his shoulders and instantly made good on his promise to help the Galaxy return to their winning ways after a dismal 2017 campaign where they failed to make the playoffs for the first time since 2008.
If you look back, every team I came to, first official game I scored. And I said I will not let it down today. I will score also today, and I was just waiting to come in because when you lose 3-0, the adrenaline is pumping even more because you wanna be able to do something, help the team, help especially when they're in a difficult situation. And I just wanted to come in, and then the fans were demanding something, and I gave them Zlatan.
Next up for the Galaxy is a trip to Sporting Kansas City on April 8th, while LAFC host Atlanta United next Saturday.
According to scientists, all operations of China's 3 Gaofen-1 imaging satellites are operating well.
China launched 3 Gaofen-1 imaging satellites as part of the country's high-definition Earth observation project on Saturday. The 3 satellites, respectively named as Gaofen 102, Gaofen 103 and Gaofen 104, were launched on the back of a Long March 4C rocket from the Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center in northern Shaanxi province. It was the 270th flight mission by Long March carrier rocket. The satellites entered the preset orbit at 11:56, marking a success in this launch mission. As high-resolution imaging satellites that are accurate to 2 meters in distance, they will be used for fields including disaster warning, ecological protection, infrastructure construction, transportation and emergency response.
With that, we conclude the news for this bulletin. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant day ahead. Bye-bye.